guys, this is the Fat Panda, and I've got our Week 2 power rankings after yet another week of battling. We got all the battles done again this week, which is amazing. 2 full weeks with 0 extensions. Well, at least at the time of this recording. The last battle had been played. One was delayed a little bit, but we got it done. So I have a full updated power rankings. I don't have to skip anyone because they didn't play, which is excellent. Number 1, still Tennessee Red Gyarados with another win in Week 2. He's got just a disgustingly strong team. And even when he's playing into, I guess you'd say the traps of the opponent, where the Atlanta Beedrills prepped really well and had some fantastic techs like Rain Dance, Weather Ball, Jolteon, and a really defensive Rocky Helmet, Beware with Swords Dance, and Darkest Lariat. None of those things really ended up mattering. You can only prep so well and play so well. And if you do those and the other team still just completely dominates, I mean, really what else is there to do? Just overwhelming pressure from Centiskorch and Hexorus and Melmetal, which 2 weeks in a row hasn't managed to do much. But it's probably the focus of so much prep that all these other sweepers are getting some good looks too. So the team itself is looking really good. He's playing pretty well, and it's going to be hard to see him lose, or it's hard to see him losing in the foreseeable future. Melbourne Lucario is holding fast to the number 2 slot as well, also 2-0. This week, thanks to Reuniclus with the classic late game cheese, Calm Mind, Iron Defense, Psychic, and Recover, or maybe it was Rest, but healing one way or the other. I love the Psychic type cheese sets Reuniclus or Necrozma or whatnot can run. And his opponent, Boston Red Sox, had, I don't believe they have any Dark types on their roster, so it was a easy bring, I bet, where he just saw Reuniclus and went, yep, it can do that. And it did indeed do that this week. So easy decision to keep him here in the number 2 slot. At number 3, rising up a little bit in the power rankings, is the Minnesota Lycanrocs. He overcame his Week 1 loss with a clutch victory this week over Toronto in a match that was much, much closer than I think a lot of people were expecting based on the survivor votes this week. They were overwhelmingly favoring Minnesota, but it was actually, I believe, a 1-0 or just about. Scarf Mamoswine saving the day with Earthquakes through a weekend team. Team itself, I still think, is really, really good. It was a good victory. I can't tell if he planned for the Mamoswine sweep at the very end or if he almost ended up lucking into it But either way, the win is the win, and I like what I saw last week with the cleanup, at least. The one thing this guy needs to learn how to do, though, is not donate his Grimmsnarl for free every match. I don't know if he's just uncomfortable with Grimmsnarl or Dynamaxing or both in general, but the results have been quite disappointing both weeks. Hopefully he gets some practice in, I don't know, either through mocks. It's hard to practice for Maxine these days simply because it's banned almost everywhere. But maybe a format where it's not banned or something, just to get more familiar with it, or at least get familiar with Grimmsnarl, because Grimmsnarl is definitely a very difficult mon to use, correctly, or it's just a very difficult mon to use, and when you add the max to it, it just becomes even more complicated. But it is also very, very good at what it does. At number 4, with a large jump this week, is the Warsaw Rapidash. Probably my biggest miss of the season, at least as far as rankings go. I don't remember how low I had them, but I did have them pretty low to start with, and it's been 2 absolutely dominating victories so far. Both weeks, actually, it was the tag team combo of Roserade and Cobalion that have just absolutely thrashed opponents. Roserade to break early and Cobalion to clean. So whatever he's doing, it's working really well. We haven't even seen some members of his team come out to the battlefield yet in either game. And he's looking really, really good with his matches. At number 5, also rising up in the power rankings, is the Seattle Serperior. Lost in week 1, but I really liked what I saw. And in week number 2, a much better victory. Just absolutely overwhelmed the opponent with Growth Venusaur, Diggersby, and then a nasty Plot Hydreigon to clean up. His opponent was trying to just trade blow for blow essentially, and against this team that's certainly not possible, and Seattle quickly overwhelmed him. And I can see that happening quite a few other weeks with just how much absolute power is on this team. At number 6, we have the Farmland Farfetch'd, another team I don't think I rated this team too low, but I definitely wasn't taking into account how well the coach is playing with this team, because he is just pulling off magic in both weeks. This week, instead of the Toxapex stealing the show, it was actually the G-Max Corviknight with some Max Knuckles. Against an opponent that had a similar very fat team, there really was just absolutely nothing that could stop the combination of G-Max Corviknight and Obstagoon from breaking down the opponent's team. So it's still a very hard balanced team, but the way he's playing with it means he's very, very comfortable with the mons he has, and it's showing because he is just absolutely dominating. At number 7, dropping just a touch, are the Vegas Golden Magnemites with a loss last week. Donating sent to Scorch turn 1, and then a little bit of bad luck over the course of the match. I think there was like a Draco miss or something as well. And he just couldn't really get it going against Warsaw. And the Roserade, he just really didn't have an answer for. He just had to try and nuke it down with Draco Meteors. And Cobalion just kept claiming kills after that. He was just on the back foot the entire game. At number 8, you didn't actually see that. There was no weird click there. At number 8, we have the Boston Red Sawks with a loss as well this week. He also, it seems there's a trend of donating Pokemon early turns, where he just said nope, he didn't need that Vaporeon, and it turns out he probably could have used it. But really, when you look at the match versus the match, I think it was just a loss in prep, because his team had no answer for Reuniclus with boosting of both its defenses. And as far as I could tell, pretty much the moment it came out, Durant was hurt enough or dead. There really was no chance for him to overcome Reuniclus. So he just got outmatched in prep this week, and I'm sure he'll be putting a little bit more into it the next few weeks, especially next week as he's up against Seattle, which is a match I cannot wait to watch. At number 9, on a screen you've never seen before, are the Sacramento Kingler. This is the team that's they dropped a lot this week. They lost first week 1 and actually moved him up because of some trades, and the trades made this team look really, really good. But last week, which he won, he looked really, really bad in, and the only reason he won is because his opponent accidentally used an illegal move, thus donating a free forfeit win to Sacramento. But if you actually went through and watched the match up to that point, he was completely and utterly outmatched, outplayed, and outprepped. If the Kamoa had clicked Dragon Dance instead of Clangorous Soul, the match would have gone the exact same way. So it's unfortunate to his opponent, but he gets a free win, and but I had to drop him. I've had to drop him because while I really like the look of the team, his play so far has not been exactly what I want to see out of him. So I'm worried to see. I hope he gets a little bit more familiar with the team. I know when you make big changes in a team that you draft, it could take a couple weeks to get acclimated to it. So hopefully he gets the feel of what he's got and brings out some heat the next couple weeks. At number 10, I have the Rochester Raboot. Rochester just got absolutely overwhelmed by Farmland Farfetch'd this week. He has a team that's basically completely full of fat or wall mons. He has almost nothing offensive, like truly offensive, like the Chandelure and the Inteleon are. And unfortunately, I don't believe either actually came to this match. And you can't bring all middling fat mons against something like Max Knuckle Corviknight and Guts Obstagoon, because he couldn't even begin to deal with it. He just got absolutely sandblasted, and hopefully he can get some more offense on this team, or he can get comfortable enough to actually bring the offense he's got, because it was not a good look this last week. At number 11, we have the Tampa Bay Toxtricity with a great bailing out of a bad place by Orbeetle, dodging a Heat Wave and Sun from a +2 Necrozma and KOing back with Flutterby. I don't know if he just didn't have a better move, but giving that Necrozma weakness policy when it was 100% obvious that it was going to be coming out to anyone who's watched Kronos ever play a match is he just got super, super lucky. So I didn't really move him anywhere this week. He had some good plays. He had some really, really questionable plays. So overall, a pretty neutral week from Tampa Bay. At number 12, I have the Hekseville Honchkrows at 0-2. Hekseville does not have weekly MVP because he is the one who used the illegal Komodo set. I've actually moved him up a few slots, though, because both matches he's lost so far are due to, not out of his control, but due to non-battling related things, I guess. I don't really know how to put it. Week 1, he lost to some of the worst hacks I've ever seen by getting 2 ancient power boosts of a Togekiss against him, and I mean, up to that point he'd been dominating his opponent, and you can't really blame him for that. And this week he absolutely dominates his opponent, and he accidentally brings in a legal Komodo set when Dragon Dance Komodo would have been legal and done the exact same job of cleaning up the rest of the team. So both are unfortunate ways to lose, but the play I've seen out of him has been really, really good. So assuming that those kind of things don't happen for the most part going forward, I expect him to get some wins quickly and start rising up these power ranks, because he's playing really, really well for the bad luck or mistakes he's making. At number 13, I have the Atlanta Beedrills with a loss this week, unfortunately, but his prep against the Tennessee Red Gyarados was absolutely phenomenal, with his Beware set and his Jolteon with the Weather Ball hit Rain Dance set. It just showed a lot of knowledge about he almost knew exactly what Tennessee was going to be bringing. It's just unfortunate that Tennessee's team is significantly stronger overall, and so it was still able to weather the good prep that Atlanta brought. He does make a trade this week. He trades his Darmanitan Galar with the Gorilla Tactics Band for Grimmsnarl. I think this is a great trade. I think Grimmsnarl is much better overall than non-Gorilla Tactics Darmanitan, and it should be pretty good when in conjunction with Togekiss and Silvally and whatnot. So I think it's a much, much better tier 1 to have, and tier 1 is a lot of power in a team. So I had to rise him a little bit between his good prep and his team, making his team better. I hope he finds maybe something he likes instead of that G-Max Appleton, because it hasn't showed up in either match, and I think that the G-Maxes are far too important to team building to be something you can leave on the sidelines for 2 weeks in a row. That's really the only thing I don't like about his team for the most part anymore. If that can change, he might jump up quite a bit if he keeps winning matches. At number 14, I have the GWS Galladiators. This week, some questionable plays early, and he almost got bailed out by his weakness policy Necrozma because his opponent walked into it, but unfortunately he wasn't quite able to get through with a missed Heat Wave, which was unfortunate. But I don't think I don't know, the team itself just hasn't really been clicking, and a little bit of bad luck and some misplays have dropped him down into a hole that's quite hard to recover from. So it's Kronos is the most unpredictable battler in the entire league, so I never know if he's going to 6-0 his opponent or absolutely blow it. And unfortunately the last 2 weeks have leaned more towards the latter than the former. Not that that means anything. He could come out next week and just absolutely thrash whoever he's against. At number 15, rising up in the rankings, are the Toronto Torterra. They did lose last week, but I saw some really good things, some really good play, some really good prep, and it was surprisingly, although Clefable was part of it and Lapras was part of it, a lot of the good stuff I saw was out of his low-tier mons. Now, of course, of those low-tier mons, 2 have just been traded away, but I saw some really good stuff out of him, some real improvement, and shows some good signs of life going forward. As far as the trades go, gaining Espeon I think is really good. Espeon, well, it doesn't necessarily like the hail or whatever Lapras, well, Lapras doesn't set hail. What am I talking about? Yep, I love it. I love Espeon more than Rotom Frost. If Rotom Frost had like better accuracy moves or something, it would have been still pretty good, but since Lapras doesn't set hail, you can't really blizzard spam, and you don't really want to bring both ice types too much, so trading that for Espeon, which is really fast, which he desperately needs, and still can be pretty powerful with some fun utility things, I think is a fantastic trade. Getting rid of Dracloak for the other Rotom Fan. I'm glad Dracloak is gone. I don't think it's really all that good. I'm not really sold on Rotom Fan as a mon, but the Rotoms are just significantly stronger than they've ever been before now. So it's kind of hard to knock anyone for any of the Rotom forms. And hey, at least this one isn't weak to Mold Breaker Excadrill, I guess. But Nasty Plot, Electric Flying Stabs are decent coverage at least, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it get some interesting results in the next few weeks. And then finally at number 16 we have the Bolton Boldores, dropping down all the way to the bottom. The last 2 weeks I just haven't really seen anything that I like out of the battling from this team. I think the team itself has some really good parts to it, but it just hasn't gotten any traction whatsoever. And the fact that the MVP is a mon that has a +1 KD on the season is not great. Even the other O2 teams, I believe, all have something better at least. It's just been a lot of getting crushed. He plays a little too straightforward as far as I can tell. He likes to just, there's not a lot of, there's people who are too mind gamey. I think he needs to be a little bit more mind gamey. Maybe start pulling some doubles or something, because when he's playing, you can kind of guess exactly what's gonna. You can guess 2/3 of what's gonna happen because he almost never doubles. So if I were to make a suggestion, I think a lot of the team is pretty good. I think just the play has to get, a little bit better. Maybe with some practices against someone who's using the other team with some Ox or something, to kind of get him, a little bit more comfortable with battling with this team. Got the final recap here for you guys with the relevant rises and drops if you want to know the exact numbers. New MVP this week, Centiskorch is bumping off Durant in the rankings after Durant's unfortunately quite bad week. Cobalion absolutely tearing it up 2 weeks in a row. Togekiss is still kind of riding the tailcoats of its week 1, and Centiskorch has done a decent job both weeks, so 3 mons that I think are deserving up here right now. And that's all I got for you guys this week. Hopefully all the battles for week 3 go smoothly so I can have this video out just as early as I do this week. With that being said, that's all I got for you, so I'll see you guys next week.